Hello, fellow wargamers. Welcome to TFG Radio TLDR Battle Reports. If you're like us and can't watch players argue and do math for 3 hours for a game that was decided in the first 40 minutes, then these are the battle reports for you. Here's the stereotypical reminder to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube and head over to the Patreon page so Adam can not share any of the money with the rest of us. Also, please be sure to visit Gameology Pasadena's website, sign up for their newsletter. Also, don't forget to support Hammerhead Games. Their consignment offerings are great deals. Enjoy your TLDR Battle Report. Today's Battle Report features Imperial Knights with a super heavy detachment. The Warlord is the Knight Castellan, which has the Call's Wrath heirloom for the noble houses, and the Warlord trait of Ion Bulwark. The other large knight in the list is the Megara. The Megara has the Exalted Court and Heirlooms of the House stratagems used on it, and for that, it has the Armor of Sancted Ion for a 2+ armor save, and Blessed by the Sacristans to make the lightning cannon do mortal wounds on rolls of 6s. We also have 2 Morax Knights, the Little Knights. One has double lightning locks, the other has double Volkites. We also have 1 Helverin, and 3 Armigers. The Tyranid list is a custom Hive Fleet battalion with reroll advance and the 6++ for the Termies and the Hormagaunts. 2 Neurothropes, one's the Warlord. We have 3 times 30 Termagaunts, 30 Hormagaunts, 2 times 3 Ripper Squads, and 3 Lictors. Then there's a Kronos Spearhead with a Neurothrope. This one has Resonance Barb. Then we have 6 Hive Guard with enhanced resistance, 2 Exocrines, and a Barbed Hierodule with Dermic Symbiosis. The mission today is Retrieval Mission. There are 6 objectives. Neither of us chose to use the secondary objectives for the mission, which is minimize losses. I feel like that would have been probably difficult for either of us to get, except for maybe me. But I was not confident I could take out all of Danny's shooting Tyranids before they did enough damage to me that I would lose too many people for that one. So even with the result of this mission, I still don't think that that's a good secondary choice for me with Knights. Going into this game, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that I'm going to be able to take out his shooting soon enough to keep enough of my Knights alive that I can get the objectives, because in the playing Imperial Knights, it really is all about holding objectives long enough against an opponent to get those primaries, because there is no objective secured in the list whatsoever. So this is the end of Danny's turn 1. He moved a bunch of guys up. He catalyst a squad of 30 Termagaunts over there to kind of pin me back into my zone. He put some wounds on an Armiger there with his arms out, the Kid Rock Armiger. And then he took down a Morax that has the twin lightning locks, so that's gone. So that gave him some points for Bring It Down. And then he also deployed Scramblers in his own zone. And he's engaging on all fronts in 3 of the zones, so he got points for that too. And up next is the Knights turn 1. So here's the end of the Imperial Knights, John's turn 1, and quite a bit happened. The Castellan burned through a lot of CPs. We did House Raven strat, we did the guided missile strat, we did all kinds of stuff, including re-rolling, trying to kill off the Warlord, but that didn't work out. And we did put down the Barbed Hierodule with him, Volcano Cannon, and Call's Wrath went to town on that. And then we took down the Haruspecs. Exocrine, with the Megara and the Volkite shots from little guy over there, the Morax. And then the guided missile did take 3 wounds off of the Warlord, but not enough to get me to cut off the head in the first turn. So that little plan did not work out. I ended up moving this guy forward with the special strat to go 8 inches, and then not be able to charge, obviously. So I'm down to 3 CPs, whereas Danny's at 8. However, I was able to get myself onto 2 objectives, blow off a bunch of guys there, but didn't finish them off. And I did score points for engage on all fronts. I got 2. I have 40 points so far for thin their ranks, which is scored at the end of the game, and nothing for cut off the head. So here comes Danny's turn 2 with the Tyranids.
So I played Battle Round 1, or at least my turn of Battle Round 1, fairly conservatively.
I was worried quite a bit about being able to effectively get rid of his shooting prior to him being able to take out a lot of my knights. His shooting was not as effective as I had thought it would be. However, some of that was due to rolls on his part. Some of it was due to good saves on my part. So you can't ever really predict that type of randomness. But I definitely feel like perhaps I had played too conservatively. I also had positioned some of my little knights poorly and made it hard for me to maneuver. That will come back to haunt me as I'm trying to get out of my zone and get onto his objectives, or not his objectives, but at least the objectives in the center of the board more quickly, so I don't fall too far behind in primary points. So this is the end of the Tyranids turn 2, and Danny was able to put a little bit of work in. He got down another one of the armigers. So the armiger that had sped up here to give me engage on all fronts died to shooting, which was not a shock. He took, I think it was 14 wounds off of this guy. Let's see how many wounds we got left on big guy over here. He's got 14 wounds left, so he took 10 wounds off of him through shooting, which is a little below because I made 5 up saves, or 4 up saves. And he is currently sitting with 23 total points because he got 15 for his primary this turn. He got 2 more for engage on all fronts, and then he got 2 more for bring them down. And he deployed scramblers in my zone because I left an opening way back there for that little guy. We'll see how the knights do in the next turn. Got a lot of shooting still, but some of his stuff is hidden pretty well. Here's the end of the Imperial Knights turn 2. We had quite a bit in action, so the Castellan was able to use the missile to kill the Warlord to give me 10 points for cut off the head. And then also the Castellan was able to use its volcano cannon to take out the last Exocrine. I think I got it right this time, right? And I am. I'm learning slowly. I'm a slow learner, guys. And then I've got another like 40 to thin their ranks, which pushed me at like 80 total. So I'm going to get a lot of points for that at the end of the game. I did not get engaged on all fronts. I was not able to get any of my mini knights around. I really deployed them badly over here. I was thinking, well, I'll have them 50% obscured. But then there's a tiny little space here and no space right here. So it makes it pretty hard to get around. I also was not able to get a good position to shoot at the Hive Guard because Danny had pinned me over here with the guys that are now dead, but I couldn't move past them at the time, so I was blocked. The current score puts me at 20 to 23 because I had 10 points to my primary. So we'll see how Danny does on his next turn. I was able to kill the Death Leaper over in the corner, so that won't be bothering me in my backfield. But there's another spot for him to come in, so that's also bad. So the end of Battle Round 2 sees me really trying to move up and finding out just how much of a problem this many bodies are for me. He's able to pin me back, and although I can walk over him, according to the FAQs, one, I had forgotten about it for a moment, and then two, I couldn't get far enough past to not be within an inch of another model because he was swamping me. And so this is showing a large swarm of bodies is difficult for me as a knight player. However, I do know that I have the tools to get through this many bodies. I'm certain I can kill all 120 of the little guys prior to the game being over. It's just a matter of, can I get through the initial waves fast enough and onto objectives so that I can start to get primary points. Also, I've left holes in my backfield where he can bring units on, and some of those units are objective secured, and they will cause issues for me. So basically, his ability to swarm objectives with objective secured bodies is going to be something that might end up being insurmountable in the end. This is the end of the Tyranids turn 3, and we put in some work over here. We got Rippers that came in, getting him all kinds of engaging on all kinds of fronts. The Hive Guard were able to double shoot and put the Megara down to 5 wounds. The Megara heroically intervened over there and then killed 5 guys off those Termagants, right? Or those Hormagaunts over there.
Those are Termagants.
Those are the Termagants, okay. And then that's kind of it for that. The mortal wounds really put down a couple, the hurt on the Megara too, from one of the zone tropes. The current score for Danny is 46 because he got 10 for his primary only, but he did get full engage on all fronts, and he's now fully deployed all of his scramblers thanks to this guy right here coming in on the middle. So let's see if I can start to rack up some more points because I am in danger of falling behind because there's a lot of bodies blocking my way. So we're at the end of Imperial Knights turn 3. And I was able to only score 5 primary points because Danny was all over these objectives at the beginning. As you can see, I've peeled off quite a bit. I was not able to kill the Ripper Swarms in the back, even though I did shoot at it quite a bit. But the Castellan was able to take off a ton of guys from here and killed a Death Leaper with the Volcano Cannon. I then charged with the Helverin because why not? Over here, the Megara was able to kill off a bunch of dudes from these squads here and took off 3 of the Hive Guard, even though he was hitting on 5s. Having the exploding 6s to hit on that is really good. Also taking the Warlord trait to give the 6s to wound mortal wounds is really good too. It's a good combo. So if you included the amount I'm going to get for thin their ranks, I'd have 41 points to Danny's 46 at the end of 3. If you don't include that yet, it will be 29 to 46. So the game is actually pretty close. Danny will have a hard time getting more for bring them down. And then probably also engage on all fronts because he's slowly running out of dudes.
So at the end of battle round 3, we're starting to see that I'm really having a difficult time with the primary objectives because I am just allowing Danny to get too much onto them. With his objective secured bodies, and I'm not able to peel them off fast enough in order to get some of them back. And so this is somewhat in large part to me poorly playing my positioning in deployment and then not moving up on turn 1 and playing far too conservatively turn 1 for a knight player who's trying to get out there and do a lot of damage and trying to get these objectives. And I just don't think playing conservatively was correct. I was far too scared of the shooting, and I also didn't realize necessarily just how easily the Knight Castellan was going to pop, for example, his Barbed Hierodual. Also, the Castellan and the Megara are pretty much able to kill off Exocrines if they can see them. And I can see them pretty well because I'm a Knight and I can move far. And with House Raven, I can advance and still shoot. And, it was a little bit of a case of dusting off the cobwebs a little bit for me with this list because I hadn't played a House Raven Imperial Knights list in a while. The only other Imperial Knight list I've played in 9th so far was House Krast, and while I liked it, it wasn't home to me because House Raven's kind of home to me, and I like that one. So I did misplay early on, and it's coming back to haunt me in the later turns.
This is the end of Danny's turn 4, and you'll notice there's no more Megara on the board. He took it down with the mortal wounds and 1 round of shooting from the Hive Guard. And then the Hive Guard pumped shots into the Helverin here, but he made both of his invul saves, right? On 6s. On boxcars. Yeah, Kid Rock over here. Kid Rockin'. Over here, a Ripper Swarm was able to charge. I decided to overwatch and did 2 wounds. And then killed the last wound off, so I will get points on my primary for that, thank God. Otherwise, he would have got me a 0 on that. Knights need something with Obsec, I'm just saying. That is that. So Danny now, though, is sitting at 66 points because he once again got full engage on all fronts. He did get full primary for 15 at the beginning of his turn, and killing the Megara got him 2 more. So that's pretty good for him, and we'll see what I can pull out of my turns 4 and 5. There's the end of the Knight's turn 4. I only got 5 primary because he was holding down a bunch of them, but I did clean out a lot of the Termagants, or Hormagaunts. Hormagaunts. I don't play Tyranids. I only play against Tyranids. So I cleared out a ton of these guys. I cleared off all those dudes and all these dudes here. There's still a Ripper Swarm back here. Yep. Even though the Castellan shot at it. The Castellan did do a lot of work, though. It managed to kill off a Lictor, 2 stands of Rippers, and with Calls and the Volcano Lance, the remainder of the Hive Guard. So that was a pretty good turn for me. This is the first turn I've gotten max engage on all fronts. But I did only get 5 primary. I still got a ton of points coming forth in their ranks. Yeah, so I'm going to max that at the end. And we're on to Danny's turn 5. All right, end of the Tyranids turn 5. And all Danny did was move around to try to get max points that he could. So he did max his primaries at 45. He also got another max engage on all fronts by moving around here. But he wasn't really able to do anything to the Knights because, I mean, all of them are at full wounds except for the one, which is at 10 instead of 12. So here we are at the end of the game, and despite the fact that pretty much everything of Danny's is dead, I did lose 84 to 80. I just needed one turn where he wasn't able to keep me onto minimum primaries, or if I had gotten the one turn where I didn't get my engage on all fronts and I was able to kill the Warlord the turn earlier, that would have also gotten me the game. So very close game, good game. Knights probably need Obsec someplace in their army so that I can at least hold some objectives somewhere. But it was still a very close game and it was a good game.
All right, so I kind of just let the final turns play out on their own with what we recorded while we were doing the battle report itself, because it's fairly self-explanatory. Those turns went pretty quickly. Once I could put the gas down, when both of the Exocrines and the Barbed Hierodule were dead, and I was able to peel off 3 Hive Guard in a single turn, that was kind of my indication that I can really put the pedal to the metal and try to get the rest of what I needed to get done. There was a lot of bodies to chew through. Playing too conservatively turn 1 ended up biting me. Not screening out enough if I could have to keep things off of my objectives in the back. There was just some mistakes that I could not overcome, and if there had been maybe 1 or 2 turns where I had not scored so low on the primaries, the game would have been totally different. If I had sniped his Warlord a turn earlier, things would have been different. But really, I did pretty well in the secondaries, and part of the issue with this list for Imperial Knights is picking a good third secondary. Basically engage on all fronts with House Raven being able to advance, and then with the special strat where you can advance an Armiger, or I think it's any knight, actually 8 inches as long as you end up within 12 inches of the board edge. And then you can't charge, but if you use it with a shooting Armiger, who cares? Being able to auto advance 8 inches is crazy. So engage on all fronts is fairly easy to get. Grind them down. If I'm playing a knight list, I basically should always be killing more than my opponent every turn. If I'm not, I'm probably going to lose or losing. But it's that third secondary choice that's difficult to pick, especially when some of the mission secondaries really don't work for knights because they're so dependent upon objectives and holding objectives. So really, in the end, I played pretty well. I feel like it was just that first turn conservatism on my part that did not pay off. With knights, you always are supposed to be playing aggressive. But what I do really like about the list is the Castellan is still a Castellan. The Castellan is still really good at killing basically anything it wants to on the board, and is pretty good at surviving still, especially since a lot of lists in the current meta do not tech to destroy things like knights any longer, because they're no longer that gatekeeper army. I feel like it does have a leg up in some of the competitive meta. So I plan on taking this list to a tournament this coming weekend, locally, the Battle for LA Grand Tournament in Pasadena.
I hope you enjoyed this latest installment of TFG Radio's TLDR Battle Reports. Stay tuned and subbed for notifications of more great short-form battle reports. And thank you to these Patreon subscribers.